Hello and welcome. My name is Kristen Tripp, the Executive Director of Da Vinci Experience. And in this training video, we are going to go over a typical schedule at Da Vinci. So right on our staff website, under our home tab, you can find a typical daily schedule at Da Vinci. So we are going to click this and dig in. So one thing that is a more newer aspect of Da Vinci is our schedule. We've always typically done a senior and junior room schedule, but with a growing demand for summer camps and an intermediate room, we have changed our design to go through progressions, progression 1, 2, and 3. So younger children are going to be utilizing the schedule for progression 1. Kids more in the middle would be progression 2, and older kids would be progression 3. This means that if you're in a junior room, let's say, and you have mostly 5 and 6-year-olds, you could do a progression 2, which would be what would be akin to a classic junior room schedule. But if you find that you have almost all fours, maybe a few threes and 1 or 2 fives, a progression 1 would fit your needs much better. Additionally, if you were a senior room and you had ages only 7 years old, if we had a lot of sevens, maybe just a few eights, a progression 2 might be the smart move to work with depending on the maturity level of your group. But if all of your kiddos are 8 plus, progression 3 is definitely the way to go. So it really just depends. This gives teachers autonomy to really decide where their group specifically is at mentally, emotionally, maturity wise, and they can make that call based on how their room is doing. So let's get into it. We'll start with progression 2 and 3 and just go over a typical camp day. So 8 to 9 a.m. in the morning, we typically do a before care. This is complimentary for families. As people have their work schedules, they will just casually drop their kids off between 8 and 9. There is no programming running. It is simply just before care. If you are a counselor in this situation coming in, you're going to be reading books, you're going to be drawing, you might be playing with some of the toys in the back with the kiddos and just maintaining law and order in the classroom. Essentially, if you're a teacher, you are greeting parents, you are making kiddos feel comfortable, and you are monitoring the safety of the room. Once 9 o'clock comes in, that's the official drop off time. So a lot of kiddos are going to be arriving at 9. So we give it a little bit of a grace period. 9 to 9:10 typically is the arrival time. That's also when a lot of teachers and counselors are arriving as well. So we typically won't get our day started or break into groups until around 9:10, 9:15. So at 9:15, we'll have our morning meeting, and this is going to be in each classroom based on the information that we're learning that day. So as a great example, if we are doing vet day and we wanted to talk about shelters, then our morning meeting is going to be a lot on the different dog or cat shelters out there, what they do, their role, how they function. Maybe we have a few videos on deck, maybe we have a few things to pass around. We're asking the kids what they think about things, etc. Now, at this point, the morning meeting for progression 2 and 3 might be the same info, but it might be delivered differently depending on your progression. A progression 2 might enjoy a story. They might enjoy a little bit more of a video and maybe a game involved. Progression 3 can have much more of a group discussion. They're older, they can sustain a conversation for much longer. They love videos too. They're not as interested in story times, and they're not as interested in shorter, more superficial conversations. They want to dig in. Now, at this point, we're going to do an activity. This is typically around 9:45 to 10:15. This can change depending on the activity. Sometimes it's going to look closer to 9:30 to 10 or 10:15, sometimes 9:45, 10:15. This is a rough estimate. Activity 1 is typically some type of art project, or sometimes it is the start of a full day project, and this could be the planning period. Or if it is an art project, we're going to want to get moving on it, and the instructions should have been given within the morning meeting. Now, once again, activity 1 for progression 2 and 3, it could be the same or it could be slightly different, but the way that the information is getting delivered and the amount of help that is given might look different. Now, from 10:15 to 11:15, we are having our snack and recess session. The snack has to be for at least 10 minutes. Kids need to be sitting at a picnic table or on the ground or somewhere with their food for 10 minutes. You can set a timer. They have to be sitting and eating. At that point, after 10 minutes, kiddos who are finished can go play, kiddos who are not can continue eating. The snack recess time is an hour of play, and it really is important for kids to have some unstructured playtime where they kind of have the independence to have their own little societies, their own rules, their own playtime that is unencumbered by adult structuring. So, counselors, of course, at this point, you want to get in the mix. You want to be playing with the kiddos, whatever magic world they've brought you into, whatever games they want to play on the playground, you can follow their lead and play with them. Teachers, you can at this time make sure that you're monitoring for general safety, but you can also be tag teaming with other teachers to be going in and out of the building to prep your materials for activity 2. But it's extremely important when doing that that you are communicating that so teachers know when you're leaving, when you're coming back, and you can relay it to have all of your supplies ready for the next activity. Activity 2, 11:15 to 12. This is a shorter activity period. Oftentimes it's a continuation of activity 1, or it might be a guest speaker or a fun experiment, whatever it might be. It's really important to get inside on time and do clear instructions quickly so that you can get this moving because we do not want to be late to lunch. At 12 o'clock, not only are we going right to lunch, but that's when teachers get their breaks. So it is extremely important that if anything on this schedule is followed, that the 12 o'clock lunchtime is followed to the letter. All kids and staff should be outside by 12. Now at 12 to 1:30, we have lunch and recess. Kids need to be sitting for 15 to 20 minutes to eat their lunch. You can set a timer at the time that that timer goes off. Once again, kiddos who are finished can go play, kiddos who are not can stay and eat. And at this point, counselors are going to get involved. This is where counselors start leading games. Kids can choose to participate or not, but this is where a counselor is going to be in charge of doing a soccer game, a capture the flag game, whatever it might be. They are leading these activities where before around the snack recess time, you were as a counselor stepping back a little bit and just letting the kids take the lead and follow them around and play with them with whatever they wanted to do. Now you can actually create specific structured games that they can jump into. So that is a big distinction between lunch and recess and snack and recess. And you really want to make sure you're getting their bodies moving, getting their heart rate up, and enjoying the beautiful day. Hopefully, a beautiful day. Now, from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, we have quiet time. This is really important. This is when CITs and counselors are taking their breaks. So teachers, you have taken your break during the 12 o'clock to 1:30 lunch and recess. You've been monitoring for safety if you've been on the playground, and if you're not on the playground, it means you're efficiently taking your break so that you can switch with your other teacher coworkers. Now that we're in quiet time, this is when counselors and CITs are taking breaks. Now, it's extremely important as a counselor or a CIT that you are taking an efficient break, set a timer. Oftentimes, a supervisor will set a timer for you so that you can jump right back into the activities when we get started up at 2, so that our activity 3 does not lag. Counselors are able to go off campus to grab food or do something if they have a car, but must ask a supervisor first. Similarly, CITs, if they want to leave the building during this break and walk around the playground, whatever you would like to do, you must ask first. We need to make sure as supervisors and adults that we know where any counselor under the age of 18 is at all times. Now for the last activity of the day, activity 3, we are going to give quick, clear directions because this is only a 40-minute activity. To let the kids really dive in, we want to make sure we are efficiently getting right into this activity. They can finish up around 2:40 to 2:45, depending on how involved they are into the activity. At 2:40, it is cleanup time, and 2:45, you might push to your cleanup time if you're a progression 3. So progression 3 might start cleaning up somewhere around 2:40 or 2:45, where progression 2 and 1 are going to be cleaning up right at that 2:40 time. You can end the day with a closing circle. It's really important to do this, 1, because it kind of ends the day the same way we started it, but 2, it is so that it also looks clean, neat, and calm when parents come in to pick up. Really helps the teacher to check kids off the attendance list if the parent is coming in and one kid is getting up and they're all sitting in a circle. So it creates a very organized pickup scene. At the very end of the day, 2:55 to 3 is pickup. This can get a little wild. So, like I said, you're going to want to be in a closing circle for this. You are going to want all of your kiddos to be packed and ready to go. And at 3, we give parents a grace period of about 3:10, 3:15, and that's when our aftercare fully kicks in. At that point, any kiddo who's not in aftercare is considered a late pickup and must be communicated. That must be communicated to me, a supervisor or lead teacher, so that we can charge parents accordingly. Progression 1 is a little bit different. The general idea is the same: before care, um, end of the day, all that good stuff. But the schedule is going to go a little bit differently. We want it to be a little bit more developmentally appropriate for kiddos who are younger. So, our morning meeting is always going to start with a welcome song. The morning meeting is going to have a lot of movement and it's going to be a lot shorter for those attention spans. Our activity 1 will probably be some type watered down version of the progression 2 and 3 activity 1, so that we have continuity. And then we'll close that activity with a circle. There's a lot more circle times for this younger group. They need it for consistency, and they also don't have the same attention spans for activities and circles, so they need more of them. Snack will be the same time frame, typically. Now, 11:15 to 12, instead of doing an activity 2, typically the progression ones are going to be doing a sensory or story time. So this will be a great time for them to do Play-Doh, for them to do a sensory activity that has to do with the lesson, a slime, a water, washing the animals, anything like that. And then a nice story time where they can really enjoy a book that has to do with the specific curriculum. Then they're going to go to lunch with the same expectations that they're going to be sitting and eating and then playing. From 1:30 to 2, they are also going to have quiet time. You might have kiddos who fall asleep at quiet time, and that is okay. If they're in the corner, you don't have to wake them up. You can let them wake up on their own. If they are right in the middle of the room, it might be smart to wake them up or move them. Then they are going to have dramatic circle time first to get into their next activity, and then they're going to finish the day off with dramatic play. And so this is just going to be free play that the teacher and counselors get involved in to help them learn more about the activity they're doing. So if it's vet camp, they have their doctor lab coats on, they have their stethoscopes on, and they are playing vet's office, and the teacher and the counselor are getting involved in this. And then they're doing some cleanup, and they will end the day the same way that progression 2 and 3 do, with a closing circle and a pickup. So that is how our schedule is going to go. So it's very similar to what we've done in the past, but there are some differences. Counselors, your job indoors is to be supporting teachers, modeling to children, sitting in a circle time with the other kids. If the kids are supposed to sit on the floor, the counselors are sitting on the floor. If the kids are supposed to be listening to the stories, the counselor is listening to a story. If the children are doing an activity, the counselor is helping with that activity, especially for younger kiddos who need help with fine motor. If we are missing something in a room, the teacher might send you as a counselor to another room to get it. Counselors are also going to be in the hallway to monitor bathroom trips or if kids need to get something out of their bag. When you get outside, counselors, now you are the ones in charge. You are out on that playground playing with the kids, being involved. Teachers, at this point, you're sitting back. You're monitoring for safety. You're switching on and off for breaks or prepping. Teachers, when you are in the classroom, you are leading the activities, you are leading the circle. It's not enough as a teacher to kind of understand the basic thing that we're learning in a typical week and to just kind of freeball it. You want to have a plan for your morning meeting, and you want to have a plan on how to execute your activity. So the best way to do that is to give yourself 15 or 20 minutes at the end of each workday around 3:10. You can leave around 3:30. You can just look through the curriculum for the next day, get your classroom set up the way you want it for the next day, and make sure that you have the materials you need for the next day. You can also write the schedule on the board, get yourself organized, watch any videos you need to watch, memorize or write down any facts you might need. But you need to make sure that you are leading your circles and activities with purpose. If anybody needs help with any of these things, whether it be a counselor supporting or a teacher leading the classrooms or a teacher monitoring for safety and a counselor running the outdoor space, you can ask a supervisor, lead teacher, or director to help model this for you or go through more training on the floor with you.